wild time in the collector supercar market, and certainly it's been most apparent in some of the auctions and the hype and the transactions that we have seen, but there have been a whole lot of other market forces as an undercurrent over the past, say, 12 to 24 months that you and I have talked about, John, that I think merit some more public mention here so that people can make a little bit more sense about some of the numbers that they are seeing. And I think the value velocity and trajectory is unique. It's, you know, there have been seasons of the dot-com boom and other times where we've seen things go up, but there's so many cars moving so fast. This feels different.
Yes, agreed.
And so what do you point to as being some of the primary reasons that these things are happening so quickly?
So I think I always say there's 4 or 5 things in my opinion. I think one, you have the reality of the generational shift of wealth. You have the largest generational shift of wealth happening in the history of the world. Over the next 10 years, you have $120 trillion going into the hands of a younger generation that doesn't look at assets the same. Historically, people were invested in stocks, they were invested in real estate, they were invested in art. There's a young generation, and I call it sort of like this YOLO generation of, I don't care about those things, I want to experience my passions, I want to pursue my passions, and I want to have fun. I want to enjoy my time on this earth. And I really look at that as, you know, it's discerning people, they know the details, they know the history, and thanks to social media and all these different things, they're now chasing the cars of their dreams. Younger generation, and I think the other thing is when you start talking to many of these individuals, the assets they are already invested in as their assets are not as liquid as cars. And I think that was one of the big shifts that you started to see during the start of COVID. You know, you had online auctions and people realized, oh, I'm bidding against another guy. There's 4 other guys with wealth that are chasing the same car. So people realized these cars were liquid. Now, take that and put that in Kissimmee, Florida. There was nothing else going on. It was this perfect storm of elements. You know, there's no competing events, there's no competing auctions, and you've got an unparalleled collection, and you've got billionaires and multimillionaires from around the world chasing the same cars. A lot of collectors open up their eyes very quickly, realizing there is a lot of wealth in the world. There are a lot of people chasing these cars, and they are very liquid. Now, I would also tell you that I do think we're also seeing a shift in just culturally, people are chasing a same generation of cars. You have 3 generations. You have a younger generation that we've never had, you know, guys in their late 20s, early 30s chasing these cars, okay? Whether it's, you know, tech wealth or whether it's, you know, all these different factors, generational wealth. Then you have the guys chasing their poster cars. These are these guys in their, you know, mid 40s, 50s that have maybe sold a company, they've built some wealth, they've acquired, you know, money to buy these things, and this is their dream, and this is maybe you could say a little bit more of our generation. And then you've got the older generation of collectors, and I call this legacy collectors, that are now saying, wait, I want to relate to my kids, I want to relate to my son, I want to relate to my daughter, whatever it may be, grandkids. I'm not driving my 300 SL anymore, let me get a Carrera GT. So those are the biggest things that I see driving this. You know, it's interesting, a very famous watch collector, one of the biggest watch collectors in the world, just brought up a very good point to me. He said years ago when, and I'm not a watch guy, I don't know about watches, I own 1 watch, that's it. He said when the Paul Newman gold Daytona Rolex was $100,000, no one cared about them. You know, you didn't have people chasing them, they were hard to sell. But the second that they started to trade for $2 million publicly, people's eyes opened, they said, oh, I want one of those, that's liquid, I need that. So, you know, I think, you know, he made the similar situation of that when people recognize these big numbers, people's eyes open that this is a safe potential alternative asset. This is something they love, and why not pursue their passion? So I think that's my opinion of the overall, like the biggest forces pushing. But I would love your take.
I think you're exactly right, and I think that's where we saw a light switch happen. And you know, there are things that happen very naturally, very slowly, very organically, and those are the generational transfer of wealth and things like that. we are seeing that light switch moment where a lot of the family offices that manage this multi-generational wealth are recognizing these cars as a true asset class, and they are permitting an allocation.
Yes.
And that's where you'll have people walk into your showroom or anywhere else and say, I have this gone in 60 seconds looking shopping list, and I want one of everything because
Yes.
I am now allowed to participate in this market with
Yes.
money that has been on the sidelines.
Yes.
And if we're honest, that amount of wealth deployed is well beyond the market cap of these cars.
Well beyond.
So what that means is the amount of money that is coming in from that single source dwarfs the collector car spend of the people that just bought them along the way as they could, dreaming,
100%.
aspiring, and stuff like that. And that's really, I think, what has just catapulted
Yeah.
the value of these cars. The other thing that we're going to see continue, and has certainly happened, is that Silicon Valley stock options have always been a huge factor in especially the new supercar market.
Mm-hmm.
But what we're going to see now is these IPOs of AI companies nearing $1 trillion, meaning that the liquidity event for even normal employees is going to be 8, maybe even 9 figures when these companies go public and they have liquidity opportunity.
Wow.
Now, when you start thinking about someone going from having a computer science degree and a programming job and really understanding AI and being in the right company at the right time, suddenly having that kind of money, they're going to buy some stuff.
Yep.
And it's going to certainly help the hypercar market the most. The Koenigsegg, Pagani, Bugatti market, the newer stuff is just going to evaporate.
Yes.
But it already has. All
Yep.
the Tourbillons are sold. All
Yep.
the Utopias are sold.
Yep.
And so it's so hard to even imagine what that force does. So you have young people that get to choose how they spend their money.
Wow.
You have young people whose
Yes.
family offices are allowing them to spend their money. You have people who are making the money by selling their companies or by somebody else selling it for them.
Yes.
All coming into place. The other thing is debt. And that's changing very fast too.
Well, I mean, the reality is, and I always tell this to people, people are writing comments on my Instagram, oh, it's private equity money, it's the financial institutions pumping up the market. No, it's not. I mean, honestly, these are passionate people that want cars, they love cars. That being said, there is a reality that private equity money will come into the market. Financial institutions will come into the market. Today, try to go get a loan on a $2, $3, $5 million car. Historically, you have not been able to.
And now you got 10 options.
Correct.
Obviously,
So,
Premier Financial Services.
correct. But years ago, you couldn't get a loan on a $2 million F40, a $3 million F40, unless you were putting half down, 80% down. You had to, the barrier to getting a loan over $1 million was unheard of. So most of these collections, most of these cars are owned cash. And I think, once you see people having the opportunity or the ability to put debt on these cars, it's also going to change the landscape completely. I don't see enough of it yet.
But the rumors are billions.
That's what I've heard.
I have heard that there are several big name banks
Yes.
putting billions of dollars
Yes.
into the space through debt, meaning that they are writing
and listen,
loans.
it would make sense because I don't know the number exact, and maybe someone can write in the comments. But something like 80% of the art world is financed on debt. It's some staggering number, so it's not unheard of either.
And it does insanely magnify the buying power
Yes.
of people to
Yes.
engage in the market. Now, you did mention the idea of private equity or some true market manipulation happening. And
Yep.
I think while there have certainly been cheerleaders for certain cars,
We
that
have
you
been
and I
accused
have
of
been
market
absolutely
manipulators, yeah.
We don't have the resources to
No.
manipulate markets. But I know you've been approached by people, I've been approached by people asking, what would happen if I were to deploy 9 figures into this space?
Oh, you change it overnight.
Overnight. In fact, when we game it out, and we have, it would be so hard to deploy it because you yourself are changing the market so fast.
Yes.
Because if you try to buy $100 million worth of Diablos tomorrow, you'd triple the market.
Yeah.
And when people who have $100 million hear that, they're like, wait a minute, when I engage in any other marketplace, there are at least laws that say that I can't do that. And we're like, no, you could actually just go buy all the
Yes.
cars.
Yeah.
And so the same is true. All these cars are so rare that amount of activity in the marketplace would turn the sandbox over.
Yeah.
And I think that is where we're going to have to talk more about what does that mean for this kind of separation, almost a K-shaped valuation of some of these cars that just go off to the stratosphere versus the ones that do stay aspirationally attainable?
I think, listen, I'm in a weird position because obviously the name curated came from the art world, and it was the idea of recognizing these cars as art. It is a little depressing. You know, I used to dream of owning an F50. It's my favorite car of all time. I don't know if that's going to happen at this point with the prices of F50s going 10, 12, 13, 14 million dollars. You know, I don't see it happening unless I sell everything and then live in the car.
Your kidneys aren't that good.
Correct. And I think, you know, that's where you part of the beauty of our industry is it has been fueled by passion.
Yep.
It's been fueled by this aspirational object. People have dreamed of these cars since they were a kid. I don't know where that's going to go once you see, if this happens and you see this wealth come in, I don't know where that'll go, because then many of these cars, like this, like a lot of cars, will just be pure art.
They may be, and fortunately they are still art that can be driven. There will still
Yes.
be events to do so.
And
But
listen,
you look at the 250 GTOs, Alpha 8Cs,
Great
F1s,
point. Yes.
like, they get out,
Yes.
they don't get out in the same ways anymore.
Correct.
So that'll be interesting to see. But that has been our take on the market forces at play. Let us know in the comments what you think is happening and whether it is some bubble that may pop or if there is enough force behind it. Today's video is brought to you by the Ticket Clinic, and I am in South Florida, one of the brick and mortar homes of the Ticket Clinic, but they've also got offices in Georgia and California, as well as a nationwide network of attorneys that can help you fight a ticket no matter where you get one. I've used them many, many times, more than I could probably count, especially one recently in this car. But I'm about to head out on the Gumball 3000 up through I-95 towards Amelia Island, and I'm sure I'll probably need them again very soon. But you can text a picture of your ticket to 305-305 and get the Ticket Clinic on your case immediately.